thing is menstruation.
Exchange amounts of healing vibrations. Religion versus spirituality. I mean, sex sells, right?
And turns you into peanut butter.
Hello? Sex, drugs, gangsters, guns, gold chains, money, murder, ass, titties, bitches, parties, violence, and alcohol. My mom doesn't like this. Even though she likes the music, she did not like the content one bit. I mean, she did used to blast this hip-hop back in the car when we were babies, but of course because we had no idea what the words meant. Then of course when we moved to Bali and started learning some English, she stopped doing so. By the time my sister started listening to this music, she wasn't even a teenager yet, and well, she was forbidden to. But of course, being the teenagers we are, we tend to rebel against what our parents told us not to do. Now parents, if this hasn't happened to you yet, it's going to happen. Now why you ask? Because hip hop is everywhere. And well, honestly, it's pretty catchy. So how do you deal with this? How do you deal with it with the family, the children, the language, and the lifestyle that's glamorized by these rappers? Well, before dealing with it, you have to understand it and be open to all sides of it. So everyone was afraid of new music. Since the beginning of time, if you go along the music timeline, you have people banging their sticks to people banging their bongos. Up to jazz in the 1920s with Louis Armstrong and his sexy dancing thought to be a bit wild and uncomfortable. You have the blues in the 1930s with B.B. King. In the 1950s you have rock and roll with Elvis Presley and his shaking hips. In the 1960s you have punk rock with the Sex Pistols and their thick eyeliner and their safety pins. And in the 1970s, you have Earth, Wind & Fire with their groovy moves. And of course, in between all that, you have all these different music genres ranging from folk music to R&B to countryside to metal music. This is all a part of the evolution. And of course, you end up with hip hop. So what is it? What does it mean? Is it just music and beats? Is it a type of dancing? Or is it just another music genre out there? Well, none of you are wrong there, but hip-hop is a lot more than just that. Hip-hop is, or at least was, a whole movement. It's a way of living. Hip-hop itself is culture appropriation. It was used as a form of protesting and fighting back. It's a source of storytelling for many people. See, music has the power to affect human consciousness and influence behavior, and that's what rappers took an advantage and put good use to it. The story goes that on August 11th, 1973, was when hip-hop was born at a party in the Bronx. A DJ going by the name DJ Kool Herc was at his sister's party when he decided to try something new on the turntable. He extended the instrumental beat in order to let the crowd dance for a bit longer. This also let a continuous rhythmic beat loop over and over, which allowed a certain person to pick up the mic and start rapping. The music led to an entire cultural movement that altered generational thinking, and from race and politics to art and language. It is now actually one of the biggest cultural movements worldwide. I mean, look at all the rappers you have around the world. You go from North America to all the way down to South America. In Africa, to the grime rappers in the UK. In Spain, you have Spanish reggaeton. You have Asia's K-pop to Russian rappers, and of course all the way down to Australia. And look at your clothes, look at your box logos, look at your Air Forces. It's all hip-hop. See, hip-hop consists of MCing, which is rapping, b-boying, which is breakdancing, graffiti, and DJing. These are the four original elements that are incorporated within one self-expression. But now, in today's hip-hop, they have only taken one of those elements, which is rapping. I guess you can say DJing too, but it's all different because it's all done through technology now. So what I'm trying to get at is that hip-hop is a lot more than what you guys might think. Now let's take hip-hop as a culture. Hip-hop has had a massive impact of influence of the black community in America as well as society as a whole. Hip-hop isn't just some beats and lyrics thrown together, it's not just music. Hip-hop was and still is a weapon for those people who choose to see its possibilities and its outcomes. The best thing is that intentionally it didn't harm anyone. You take breakdancing for an instance. It's a battle. You have a winner and you have a loser. This is an alternative for the gangs in New York. Now, look at the reality of it. It brings cultures together, whether it's on the streets or at school, whether it's black, whites, Asians, Hispanics, it brings us all together to have a good time and enjoy the music. So for the past 3 decades, hip-hop has influenced and uplifted America, speaking up for generations and providing a voice for a group of people or an individual trying to convey a message. It provided a platform for people to openly talk about their points of view on societies, governments, racial issues, and maybe even some personal subjects. Some people and groups argue that the music was aggressive in nature and promoted people to rebel and be aggressive. Although it did cause some people to do so, all this aggression in the music was just in response of how they were being treated and the conditions they were living in. Some people expressed this issue through calm public speeches, others through protesting and rioting, others even through crime, vandalism, and maybe even murder. So at least the music was a calm and respectful way of doing so. So people's first thoughts, like any creative project, when you create something that's authentic and true, it's empowering. It influences you into wanting to do something different. But people who are afraid of it, they didn't think anything of it. They were scared of it. Some people just saw it as music coming out of the ghetto, so they just associated with everything that was going on within the ghetto, such as its drugs, its poverty, its illiteracy, its behavioral problems, people in jail, violence, and so on and so on. So everything that was being associated with hip-hop was just all of its negative aspects, when really, hip-hop was just an expression of the struggle of the ghetto. But it was at least it wasn't harming anyone. Instead of releasing it through violence and crime, they would do it through the music. Now these people from the ghetto, they were sick of being treated the way they were being treated. They were all filled with anger and frustration of constantly being frowned upon. They were tired of living along the poverty lines, as most of them didn't really have a choice. Their living conditions was hard. The ghetto was and still is a hard place for most of them. I mean, you've got dads running out on families, aunts looking after the children, while their mothers are out working their asses off, trying to sustain the family. Living in a neighborhood where you hear gunshots several times a week, no wonder why you see kids out on the streets at such a young age. I mean, they have to look out for themselves. And most important, they want to feel accepted by the people around them. They want to fit in just like any other human being. Even if it takes having to carry a gun and sell crack on the corner of the block. I doubt any of you here must know what that feels like. The music was just them telling their stories, expressing their struggles, and making people see what they had to go through. Somewhere along the way, hip-hop became more about edge and less about the content of the message. Look at Young Thug or Fetty Wap for an instance. You can barely understand what they're saying, and they're probably just mumbling some more words into the microphone about some crazy party or their crazy naked models. And then on the other hand, you have old school rappers such as NWA or Tupac Or you can look at the newer era of rappers such as Joey Badass or Kendrick Lamar, which focus more on politics, racial issues, world problems, and pretty much are just more conscious about their hip hop. It became more about sales and less about It became more about sales and fame. More of the white people who had potentially never been truly exposed to black culture firsthand began to buy the music. As it became more and more commercialized, it became less and less about its true meanings and initial intentions. One part of it could be because labels just wanted easy, fast money, and to do so, you just need to have money waving in front of the camera, half-naked girls dancing on the table, and drugs here and there. What I think is that it could also be because of the people who control the media and the dumbing down of society. And by this, I don't mean media company owners or tech support. I mean the people who bribe the media in order to get whatever they want out of it. Now, that's a completely different path, but sadly I'm running out of time and I have to close up. Now, before I do close this talk, I just want you all to know that I'm not here to tell you what and what not to listen to. Don't get me wrong, that's entirely up to you. Because I'm going to be honest, I do listen to most of that wacky lyrical modern stuff. Why, you ask? Because it's fun. It lets us friends come together, have a good time, bond with each other just like peanut butter and jelly did. So if you do listen to this music, don't let it influence you in any negative ways. Be conscious of its power and what it's capable of. So back to the swearing, the half-naked girls, the bling, and everything else. So how do you deal with this? I mean, you can't run away from the fact that sooner or later it's going to reach into every one of your children's ears. It's going to happen, you can't avoid that. Now, instead of attacking this issue, just understand it. Understand the true meanings and the roots of this music and its initial intentions. Except that hip-hop is a form of culture expression, and be open to all sides of it. And look on the bright side. Now that you understand it, you can go and sit down with your children, have an open discussion, don't have no interventions that might resent you with, and understand them. Ask them how they perceive it, how it might make them feel. You might love it, you might hate it, you might not think any of it, but at least now you understand it. That's of course if you aren't sleeping these past 12 minutes. You are what you consume, right? You are what you eat, you are what you watch, you are what you read, and of course, you are what you listen to. So be aware. For this occasion, I have written a song for all of you.
Already dead. Body so dependent, you have to think instead of the outcome. You'll be fake.